Hi everybody, it's Kathy with Simply Cards by Kathy, and it is Monday, August 22nd, 2022. And for those of you that typically join me, I apologize. I'm a half hour late because we had some internet problems earlier and they decided to go back on right around 6:45. This gave me time to kind of post and let you know that I'd be on. If you are new to my channel, welcome, and I'm so happy you found me. Hit that subscribe button and the little bell next to it, and you'll get notified when I do videos. And for those of you that have been following me and are with me again, thank you so much for joining me and your support. I truly, truly appreciate it. If you're here with me, please leave me a comment. Let me know where you're from. I promise to try to acknowledge comments as we go throughout the video. I'm excited today to share with you an easel card. And I know there's many ways to make an easel card, but I really love this one. What I'm doing is using a large die cut image to actually support the easel part of the card. So I am going to kind of stop chit-chatting and flip the camera to my desktop. But before I do that, I do want to show you what the card looks like, because it's really hard to see an easel card when I stand it up on my desk. So this is the card. And then when you fold it for the easel, and I have to hold it here to try to get it so you can see it, it's going to look like this. And if I turn it around, there's embossing. Let's see if you can see that. Sorry about that, embossing on the back. So let's flip that camera down and we'll get started on making our easel card. Okay, so this is the card we're going to make. And again, if I'm not holding it and standing it up, this is what it looks like. So I'm going to set that off, and I'm just going to bring in and show you what I'm using. I'm using the Fond of Autumn bundle, and that's on page 52 of the July to December mini catalog. We are going to use this large stamp, and then I'm going to show you the dies. This is a great bundle because you have so many die images in it that you can not only cut the large image, but you also have a die here. This is the one we're going to use to cut the large image. But then you have a die here that once you have colored that large image, will cut it into several different pieces for you to use. And I'm going to show you that on Friday this week, since we're using this one today. So we are also going to use the leaf fall embossing folder just to kind of dress up the front of our card. So lots of things going on with this card today. And this is our stamp set. And we're using this one. This is a photopolymer stamp set. So what I've decided to do is I'll be using my Stamparatus with this because I really want a defined image, and that way I can go over the image once it's stamped if I want it darker. So right now, what I'm going to do is bring in my trimmer, and we are starting off with a normal size card. And again, don't worry about the measurements because they're going to be down below, probably by tomorrow morning, for sure, if not late this evening, where you'll be able to see measurements, written instructions, and supplies. But this is an 8.5 by 5.5. And what we're going to do is we are going to score it in two places. We are going to score it as we normally would at 4 1/4. And let's get the blade out of here. For those of you that may be new to stamping, the dark blade is your cutting blade. I always move it out of the way because I have, when I meant to score, cut my card. So again, we're scoring at 4 1/4. And then I'm also going to score it at 2 1/8. So I'm going to flip my around, flip the card around and score it at 2 1/8, which is half of 4 1/4. When you do your easel cards, you're going to be scoring the top portion in half again. So again, we've scored at 4 1/4 and at 2 1/8. Okay, so let's move this out of the way. Now, if you remember earlier, I said I wanted to give some definition to this front of my card, and I want to do that with my dry embossing folder. So what I'm going to do is bring this in, and this is how my card is going to go. So I need to be careful of how I'm going to emboss this. So I'm going to go ahead and I want to put this in. And I'm going to line up the black line here right with this line. Now the leaves are all going to be over in here, which is what I want, because I want this area to be blank or not embossed, because I'm going to stamp my greeting there. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to run this through my embossing folder, which cut and emboss machine, which is right behind me, and I will be right back. I'm still here, just running this through. So I'm back, and this is what the embossing looks like. So hopefully you can see that. Let's see if that gives you, is that any better? Let's see. So now we're going to go ahead and score on our score lines. So I'm going to score on the 4 1/4. And I want to make sure my edges are even, and then just give this a good burnishing. And then I'm going to score on the 2 1/8, which is right here. So I'm going to bring that into the fold line, and that's where my score line is, and burnish. Now you can also fold it and then run it through if you want. I've done both ways. So here is our front of our card. So now we're going to set this aside and we're going to do stamp our image. And I'm going to bring in my Stamparatus, and I already have this large stamp right here. Now, one thing I failed to mention is when I am doing an easel card, I use my thick white because you want it to have some substance to it so it stands up well. So that just gives it a little bit more body. So I'm going to go ahead here and we're going to ink up our stamp. I am going to be coloring the image in with my Stampin Blends. So I'm going to be using the Tuxedo Black Memento ink, simply because you do not want your image to bleed. So let's give this a good covering here. And I'm guessing I'm going to have to stamp this twice. I did the last time too. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to bring in my Chucky, and I use this to add some even pressure so that I get a good image. That looks pretty good, but I'm going to go over it one more time. The Chuckies, somebody had asked me when I used it the last time where I get it, and I actually got mine off of Etsy. So let's just do this again. And that's a great image. So we're going to move this off. And you can see I'm going to pull in my Stampin Blends here, of which I have a lot. So I'm going to start coloring, and the colors I'm using are Old Olive, Mossy Meadow, Granny Apple Green, Calypso Coral, Cajun Craze, Mango Melody, Highland Heather, Blackberry Bliss, and I'm using my soft suede. So the first thing I'm going to do is do my Acorns. So I'm going to just come in here and I'm going to add some definition where the lines already are. And I know this video may take a little bit longer than what you're used to seeing me do because of coloring this image, but I just think it's hopefully you'll stick with me through the end to see the finished product. When I'm using my Stampin Blends, I typically will lay my dark color down first. It doesn't really matter which you do. You can do whatever, and then it just blends. Sometimes I'll go back over with the dark after I've laid down the lighter color. But I rarely, I've had several people question why would they have some bleeding. For one, you want to make sure that your Memento ink is dry. And if you're not certain, you can certainly use your heat gun on the lower setting and dry it if you're concerned about that. The other thing is I rarely go right up to the edge. These are alcohol blend markers, so they do spread. And not only that, but you can always go up and add some color if you need to do that. So with this, I stay away from the edges and I wait to see how far that alcohol blend carries out or spreads out, and then I'll go back and add a little bit here. So I'm not going to be real precise in coloring this because I want to get through so that you can see it, but I also want it to look really pretty. And the blends do such a great job in coloring. I just love them. But I love the color, so I love coloring with all mediums. So you can see that I start back and I don't really go right up to the very edge. I'm going to try and bring you in a little closer without making you dizzy here so you can see what I'm doing, and we can always move out further. So now I'm going to grab my Mossy Meadow. Is this Mossy Meadow? Dark Olive, I'm sorry. And I'm going to do these leaves right in here. And again, just taking my darker color and following the lines that kind of go in with the stamp. And then I'm just going to blend it. I always try to remember to move in one direction. I don't scrub this back and forth like this because it will cause some pilling and denude your paper, and then you don't have a very nice image. So, and I try to pull the color, the darker color, as I'm laying down the light so that it blends nicely. Now I am using the heavy cardstock here also. Your Stampin' Blends do go through to the back, but I just like the way it colors. For me, a little bit better than just the plain basic white. I use very light pressure. I don't press hard on my markers at all. For one, they ruin the end of your marker, particularly the brush end. If you put a lot of pressure on them, just kind of flattens it out. And I've learned that from just doing that and making the mistake of doing it. And then I'm very light-handed when I color. So there's that one. Now I'm going to work on the big leaf, and I want to add a little bit of variety or color to the end of that so that it almost looks like the leaves are turning. So I'm going to go in here and just add little bits, just in some spots. And then I'm also going to come in with my Calypso Coral, the dark, and lay some of that down and just pull it through. Okay. And now I'm going to come in with my Granny Apple Green. And this is the light, so I'm going to grab the dark, and I'm just going to follow these lines around. I tend to use the wider brush end more than I do the other one. It's just, that's what I'm more comfortable with. And then now I'm just going to pull my color through. And you can see I'm even going over some of the Calypso Coral and pulling that through. I'm going to turn it a little bit. And I just want these colors to kind of blend nicely and for it to kind of look like we're going into autumn. Okay, let's go to this next one. I hope everybody had a great weekend and you're able to have some time for crafting, but also some fun with family or any other hobbies that you enjoy doing. I can't believe how quickly summer is passing us by, and that in another 8 or 9 days we're going to be into fall. Now I'm going to leave a little bit of that at the tips to add some color there. And I'm going to go back in with my Mango Melody and come on in and just add a little bit of color there. Okay, and then we're going to come in with this one and do the same. I would love if you're watching me to let me know what you think of the blends. Have you used them, and um, do you like using them, or what is your favorite medium for coloring? I always think it's so interesting that we all tend to like different things when we color. And I actually love even watercoloring. I have no problem with all using any of them. I just love to color. For me, I find it very relaxing. Okay, now I'm going to come in with my Mossy Meadow, which is going to be the darkest of them. And we're going to come in here and just add some definition to these leaves. And then I'm going to come in with my light one, or I guess that is my light one. Now I have my dark one. And let's just see how that's going to work, because I picked up the wrong one. So I'm going to come back in and just go over these real quickly, and then we'll come back in with our light one and color those in. So I don't know if hopefully you're in close enough that you can see I'm not really going up to the very edge, and just wait to see how that ink kind of spreads out. If you are new to my channel, and hit the subscribe button and that little bell, you'll get notified of videos, both when they're live or they get posted. This week I will be doing an extra video showing you how to do an alternate project with the June, actually, paper pumpkin. And that will be on Wednesday this week, and I'll be posting the time. I also do Friday Fun at 1, and hope you can join me for that. Just a reminder that we're currently in a celebration, which is going to be ending on the 31st. I am switching over now to do my little berries, and I'm going to add some dark. Yep, I said dark and I picked up the light again. Some dark just at the very tips. If you can see the berries, they have that little dark spot at the end. So usually if you're looking at a berry like that, it's dark at the bottom, and then kind of the color can lighten up a little. So just going to add this in here. So with celebration, you have a chance to get free products with every $50 purchase. And they have added some great products, such as some dies and embossing folders, and that will be ending. So if there's something you've been wanting, don't forget to get your order in before the 31st of August. Now I'm coming in with the light color and just going to pull that through. And then we just have our flowers to do. So with those, I think we're going to do, let's do the Calypso Coral. So I am going to start off with my dark Calypso Coral, which is right here. And all I want to do is add some definition at the base of the petals. And again, I'm going to use those accent marks that are with the stamp. Oh my goodness, that's Cajun craze. Too many blends on my desk. So we're just going to come in with the Calypso Coral and cover that Cajun craze up. I was looking at that thinking, is there something wrong with my eyes, or that's looking a little on the orangey brown side? So, but again, they're blends, so easy to cover up. Okay, now let's go over and do the other one. And I'm just going to go in here. If you are new to my channel, on Wednesdays, I partner or collaborate with another demonstrator, Pat Fairless, and we do what's called Connect to Create. And that's pretty much a technique type class. We alternate where each one of us takes a turn. We alternate weeks, and we go over how to do different techniques with you. We don't actually make the card, but we show you the technique, how to do it, the finished technique, and then how we used it in a couple cards. So it's every Thursday at 10 a.m., and you can find that both on our YouTube channels. And let's add some Mango Melody to the center. I'd like it nice and bright. And we're just about done. Okay, and let's come in with this. And I forgot a flower here. And then just the center of our flowers, I'm going to go back in with my light soft suede and just add some dots. And then I'm going to show you how we're going to cut this die. So here's our image. And I think we got everything but this one little leaf here. So I'm going to push these all out of the way here so that we have room to work. And I'm going to bring in that die. Now this is the large die, and it's going to go just like this to cut out. So I am going to take a piece of tape, and I use the tape, the sticky note tape, and I'm just going to drop a piece there and one here so that it holds, since we don't have the magnetic plates, that it holds well. And I'm going to pop on over to my cut and emboss and cut this out. Okay, I'm back, and here's our image. Now, the reason I like this tape is it doesn't stick and it comes off really easy. So I'm going to just take you back up a little bit so you're not so, so you don't feel like you're so close. And we're going to bring our card in. So this is going to be our card. And this is what we're going to use for it to stand up on. So the first thing I want is I want this to have some thickness to it so that it isn't flimsy and holds up. So what I did is, out of a piece of basic white, I cut 3 more of these images, and I'm actually going to glue them together. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And we may only use 2 of them, but I did cut 3. And they're going to go together very easily. Oops. Let's get that off because I squeezed too hard. I'm just going to take that off with some scrap paper. And now it should be working. So just going to add some here. And you're just going to put these one on top of another. And then so that I get them so that they're paired up nicely and evenly, I just kind of tap them to get them to adhere so that the edges are even. And we're going to put this one down. Okay, and we're going to do the same. And now we're going to adhere our image to it. Now it does add a little bit of weight to the card, but I want it to be able to have some sturdiness to stand up. And I also want it to have some definition. I want it to kind of pop. So we're going to go ahead. And here's our image. Now, with our card, I want to stamp thank you up here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bring in my Cajun Craze. And I'm going to bring in a pad so that I get a nice crisp image. And I'm going to just stamp thank you. That's great. Okay. Now we're going to start to assemble our card. I wanted to add some color to this. So I cut a piece of 1.5. This is Cajun Craze by 1 1.25 Calypso Coral by 5.5. And it's going to go straight across the card. So let's go ahead and adhere this to each other. And we're going to adhere this to the front of the card. Now I'm going to glue it down. I don't want to use Stampin' Dimensionals because I don't want to add any more thickness to the card than I'm already going to have. And just going to go end to end. And whatever's left over, I'm just going to trim off with my scissors. So I'm going to flip this over and just do a clean cut. There we go. Okay, now with our image, we want this to, and it can go however you want it to. I'm going to turn it this way just because I don't want, I guess I'm not. I'm going to flip it the other way. And I stamped it so that it's covered the thank you. But I'm going to go ahead and finish it to show you. I should have stamped it afterwards. When you glue this, you only want to glue the bottom part. You don't want this to be glued to the top because then if you do, this isn't going to open up. So we're going to go ahead and glue this, and we're going to fix that thank you not showing up. So I'm just going to put this to the lower portion, okay? And I'm going to fold this in because I don't want to get any of that on my top part. Give it a good push, and you have that there. Now, the next part is to build your, for your easel. So in order to do that, a couple things. You can make this as high as you want to stand up. And I want this to stand up just about like that. I'm going to pull it to the side to show you. So what I did is I cut another piece of Cajun Craze and Calypso Coral. This is 1 inch and I believe 3/4 of an inch. And these are going to go on here, and they're going to be, I guess, what we call our bumper to this. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere this. And then I just want to make sure that I have enough for this to hook onto to hold. So I cut another piece of white, and I'm going to put that on the bottom of the Cajun Craze, just for some extra thickness. So there's that. And now we're going to adhere this to our card. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up. And I'm going to put this right about there. And we're going to have to cut some off like I did. I went a little bit longer just to make sure I had good coverage. And let's check that. There's our card. Okay, so I'm going to flip this over and trim that little bit off. And you now have an area to write a personalized message. And here's your card. So hopefully you can see that. I have it turned to the side. And if you look at it, I want to try to get that so you can see it. You can see the embossed area with the greeting. So realistically, I probably should have waited to adhere this and then stamped that. But I'm gonna leave that the way it is. And I'm gonna bring in my brushed metallic adhesive back dots. And I'm just gonna add, I'm gonna use these. I'm gonna add one here. And we're gonna add one here. And let's put a big one up by the thank you. Let's just go right up here. So here's our 2 cards. And you can see on this one, I did go up higher, which is better. I should have stamped it after. But again, we all learn from our mistakes. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. And help me grow my channel. And I will be back this week, both on Thursday and Friday. And I hope you have a great evening. See you soon.